Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the continuation of Unit 5, Data and Society. You're dealing with today with Unit 5, Lesson 9. We have chosen to skip Lesson 8. Lesson 8 was a project that we felt didn't really go into great detail about what we are doing. And to run a project on virtual was just a little too much. So we felt that we would go ahead and skip that one. We jumped to number 9. So we're on lesson 9, problem solving and data. The overview: in this lesson, students will use the problem solving process from earlier in the course to solve a data problem. After reviewing the process, the class is presented with a decision: whether a city should build a library, a pet shelter, or a fire department. You're supposed to be able to work in teams, but in the situation that we're in, you're not able to work in teams. So maybe you might want to ask your parents or older brother or sister what their thinking is on something like this when you present your data to them. Just kind of play along with it and see what they have to say about it. Okay, let's see. You're going to collect data from the internet to help you decide what they should build. Then you'll use the information and build an argument that will convince the city council of your choice. They then map what you have decided to do with the problem-solving process and how you accomplish the ultimate, facility that you would like to have placed in that area. All right, so here's what we're doing. What we're doing is we're looking at Columbia, Missouri. So remember that. You're going to have to write that down. Columbia, Missouri. Columbia, M-O, and it's their city council. Columbia, Missouri is, of course, it's in Columbia, Missouri. What we want you to do is look at the Columbia Mall. The Columbia Mall is in Columbia, Missouri. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Didn't come out exactly right. So here it is, Columbia Mall. The Columbia Mall and their city council is trying to decide whether they want to build a fire station, a library, or a pet shelter in that area. You're going to have to decide for them, or you're going to have to help them convince them of what they should build there. So from that, let's go to our activity guide. And this is what your activity guide looks like. It's an activity guide solving a data problem. The city is planning a new building for its residents, but the city council isn't sure what it should build. Some members want a fire station, others want an animal shelter, and others want a library. Your job is to use data to make a convincing recommendation to the city council. Okay, here we're using our problem-solving process: define, prepare, try, and the last one's reflect. So once again, we are using something way back from the very beginning where we did the problem-solving process, and we're using it to help us determine or help us present a recommendation for the City Council of Columbia, Missouri and the Columbia Mall. So here's a couple hints. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look up Columbia, Missouri and the Columbia Mall. See what's in that area. Check it out. There's ways to figure out how many fire stations there are, how many libraries there are, and how many animal shelters there are near the Columbia Mall. That is what you need to do. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to go ahead and do that. And again, the first one, what is the problem you're trying to solve? I just kind of gave it to you. Prepare, you're going to prepare yourselves right now. What data do you need to solve your problem? Go ahead and write that out. What data do you need? Maybe how many libraries are already around the Columbia Mall? Ooh, hint, hint. All right, so go from there. Answer the rest of the questions. We'll come back and finish up page 1, and then I'll let you go and do page 2. Okay, we're back. And activity guide, solving a data problem. All right, Columbia Mall. What is the problem you're trying to solve? The problem you're trying to solve is what the city council should build in the Columbia Mall area, whether it be a library, a fire station, or a pet shelter. That is our define. Okay, now we're going to prepare. How do we prepare? What data do you need to solve the problem? How many of each thing are in the city already? Is there a big problem with fires? How close to the spot is the nearest library, fire station, or pet shelter? Those are things that you can look up and find out online. if you haven't already. What is the nearest one to the mall already? How many are there? Look around, see what you can find. With your group, okay, with you by yourself, find your data on the internet and record it here. You'll need to combine your data with data from other groups, which you won't get to have. You're going to have to do this on your own to make the best possible decision. You are in command. You're by yourself. So go ahead and present it maybe to your parents or an older sibling. See what they have to say about it. So don't make any recommendations until you hear from all the other groups. Well, you're not going to have that chance. You're going to have to go ahead and make your recommendation with what you have and what you've gotten. Okay, so here's some ideas. Pet shelters. Well, here I am giving you a hint. I want you to go ahead and spend some time looking it up. So go ahead, back on the internet, Columbia, Missouri, and the Columbia Mall, see what's in that area. Okay, we're back. You should have found at least 2 pet shelters, plus another one in the next city, but one not very close. Libraries, a lot, but only one that's not part of the college, and that one is 3 miles away. Fire stations, a lot, and one is 1 mile away. Couldn't find any news about fires in the Columbia area. So that's another thing. If you're going to build another fire station, is that prone to fires? If you already have 10 fire stations within 5 miles of there, all the way around the mall itself, does it warrant another fire station if there aren't that many fires in the area? That's another thing to consider. All right. For the second part of your activity guide, we will scroll it down. This is the try portion. What should be built in that location? Okay, with the information that you found, my recommendation to you would be a library. Why? Because there are plenty of fire stations and not any fire problems in the news. So there is no need for another fire station. Reason 1, there are at least 9 fire stations and one is 1.5 miles away. Okay. Reason 2, if you haven't done this, I'm going to stop you right now. Go ahead and finish up reason 2. Okay, we're back for reason 2. Reason 2, you should be able to walk to a library and the nearest library is too far to walk from the mall. There is only one library. The library is 3 miles from the spot. So my recommendation would have been a library. And why would that be? I'm reflecting on it now. We're down to the reflection portion. And the reflection portion states, what other data might help you to make a better decision? If there were a lot of stray pets and the shelters are always full. So if I was trying to decide whether between a library and maybe a pet shelter, I might call around and say to the pet shelters, are you guys always full? Do you always have too many animals? Is there a way to find out? Are there a lot of strays in your area? And if that's the case, I might change my mind and go with the pet shelter instead of the library. Where could you find this data? Of course, from the animal shelter itself. So this is part of what using raw data or data that you have gotten from the internet, from the Columbia Mall area, on what the city council might want to build in that area. So you would then present it to the city council and say, listen, this is the information that I have pulled up, and this is our feeling or my feeling of what you should build. I think you should build a library, and these are the reasons why. Anytime you do a presentation, you should always have information to back it up, data to back it up. The more data you have, the better off you're going to be. The stronger data you have, where you can make plus points to your category or your decision, and maybe some negative points to the other categories or the other decisions. Those always help too. Saying that you want a library there instead of a fire station or a pet shelter, by saying that there are so many fire stations already around in the area, it's a negative point towards the fire stations because there's no reason for another one. So always look at that point for data too. Data collection, data information, that's all part of it. All right. So that is the conclusion of this portion of solving a data problem. And you have now completed Unit 5, Lesson 9. And you can move on to lesson 10, problem solving in data. You just concluded. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.